What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the chat show on LFC Transfer Room. Today, we're just going to have a nice chat. I've got a beer. Ben's got a beer. I don't know about you, Dan. Have you got a beer?
No water for me.
Water for you. That's poor form, that is. And Jack is a illegal man. So you can't...
Yeah.
I'm unfortunate over here in America. I can't be having a relaxed Friday like you guys. I have to suffer with my water here at 2 p.m.
Yeah, so today we're going to be talking all things LFC, and it has been good timing, boys, because Fabrizio Romano has just tweeted that Ibrahima Konate isn't official. Here we go. How are we feeling, Jack? Because you're just editing a video on him at this time.
I am, yes. Very excited, honestly. I think if you had asked me about this maybe a month ago, I would have been incredibly excited. Now I'm almost a bit less excited because Fabrizio said in response to a comment that Kabak is still yet to be decided. And if it's Konate at the expense of Kabak, I'm going to be a little upset, if I'm being honest. I think Kabak's been very, very good for us. He's proven that, he's shown up. He's done a good job. And I hope it's not at his expense. If it's both of them, I'm over the moon. But I think it's a wait and see mode. But I am upset that I have the feeling this is just FSG trying to shiny new toy. Stop talking about how awful we are. Look at Konate.
That's how I see it. It just seems like very convenient timing to sign a player, isn't it? And I feel like we'd be hypocritical if we accepted this and moved on and got excited about it, because at the end he's an exciting player, let's be honest, but we can't forget what just happened over the past week.
No. What about you, Dan? What are you feeling? What are your about obviously the whole week, because we haven't seen you over the last week or so. What are your thoughts on it? And of course, Konate.
Yeah, same as everyone else really in terms of the Super League. Hated the idea, hated the concept. Wasn't a massive fan of the hypocrisy that surrounded it this week. When you've got UEFA and Sky calling out people for being greedy. Come on. At the same time, the Konate deal, similar to Jack, really. I'm really, really impressed with the signing, but at the same time, if it means we don't sign Kabak, I'll be a bit gutted, and that'll be a bit unfair on him, because at 21, I think he's done brilliantly, to be honest. But if we get both of them and maybe move Matip on, I think that'll be pretty good business. Yeah.
How much do you reckon we can get for Joel Matip? Because
we only have to buy Kabak for 8 million. I saw some rumors because Schalke are relegated now, so he wouldn't be too expensive to buy. But Matip, I don't know. I reckon 15 mil in this market.
Do you reckon that anyone's willing to take the risk? Because
I think
he's a very good player. So he's a very good player. Yeah, he's just injury prone.
Yeah, for 15 mil, you take him easy.
What sort of clubs do you reckon? Do you reckon it'll be like Europe's elite, or just the tier down, sort of like a Leverkusen or a Dortmund or a Leicester?
I've seen
there will be Leverkusen or something like that.
I've seen in my FM saves, he goes to Barcelona a lot. I think he'd almost not be a perfect fit for Barcelona, but he's almost the case of a side who doesn't need him to be in there week in, week out. We need the money for him, but if he's the kind of guy where he's your third, fourth choice guy, if he's fit, he can make a serious run at the starting 11. So for a Barcelona who are trying to make a serious shift in their side, 20 million, as Petrie says, I think that'd be a very good signing for a lot of different clubs. So I think I would hate to see him go, because I love Joel. I think he's a tremendous center back. I think he's one of the best in the Premier League when he's fit. But as the case with all of our center backs, it's how often is he actually fit? And I think a right center back slot that has Gomez, Kabak, Konate, and Phillips fighting for that spot, and maybe Davies is the backup to Van Dijk, is the perfect center back room for next year. So I just think Matip's the odd man out if we bring in Kabak.
Ben Davies, do you think he'll be allowed outside? I can't see it, mate.
He's a left-footed center back, and that's actually a big deal these days. So.
Exactly. Petrie, 20 million, you reckon, for Joel Matip? That has potential. Ben, I'm going to ask you about it, because you probably know more than I do, definitely. What about Konate's injury record? What do you reckon?
It is a worry. Most of his injuries have been kind of muscle injuries as well, so it's not really what you want to see. But you got to hope the recruitment team, they haven't really put a foot wrong since they've come in on the Klopp, especially Michael Edwards. So you got to hope they had a look at that and they assessed all the pros and cons, and they thought that it was worth taking a gamble.
Yeah, Dan, what do you reckon?
Yeah, similar thing, really. I think I seen someone trying to debug the injury record recently on Twitter and say it's actually not as bad as it looks. I think two of the injuries concurring kind of were the same thing, and he might have been rushed back. So I don't think it's actually as bad as it looks. I mean, we all know about defenders and injuries, don't we? So we can only hope that we haven't signed another one. But like you say, I don't think Liverpool would fork out. It's going to be 30 million for someone who's going to be injured, definitely. So let's just keep fingers crossed.
As well.
Yeah,
Well,
I want to read what Liam said is that, I don't know if one of you guys mentioned it. I was editing this video, so my mind was 100% in it. But it's been one injury that's been the knee one that's kept him out for most of this year. So it's not like a Matip or maybe even a Gomez. A Gomez not so much, where it's like small things, or maybe Naby Keita of old, where it'd be a hip here, it'd be you'd like have a pulled groin the other day. It wasn't like he had multiple recurring injuries; it was just the one knee injury. So I think that if he can get over that knee injury, which I think he has, he's back playing for Leipzig. I'm not too worried. And who knows? I mean, has there been a signing that's like had a major injury flop since they've arrived? We were scared off of Fekir, so I don't think that they would be doing this unless they were pretty certain and comfortable.
As well, I mean, if you want to compare, like Bayern Munich forked out around over 40 million for Upamecano, and Konate is by far the better defender, in my opinion. At the moment, he is a much better player than Upamecano. So in that sense, I think it could even be seen as a bit of a bargain.
Why do you think Bayern chose Upamecano over him?
I think Upamecano's physical attributes, he's got that physique, which kind of is almost a direct replacement for Jerome Boateng, who they're trying to get rid of. Whereas I think we're trying to replace Matip, and Konate is the perfect replacement in terms of both physique and playing style to Matip.
Dan, do you think there's an argument, say, for keeping all centre-backs? Because if they're also injury-prone, then maybe they'll all miss out a certain period of time.
I mean, after this season, definitely, because we don't quite know. Like, as much as we all hope and pray, and we kind of expect Van Dijk to come back and be indestructible like he was before this happened, this is a serious injury that's happened to Van Dijk. So it's a real unknown next season for him. And for that reason, I'd probably keep bases covered. You know, we talk about Ben Davies in a bit of a jokey sense, but there's a chance we sell him in the summer without him even playing. But there's also scope to keep him because, you know, we've got to be playing more football with obviously cup competitions. I would keep them all personally. And if it means the likes of Davis and obviously Nat Phillips don't really feature, then so be it.
Yeah. It's a really tough argument, isn't it? It's like, if we could fast forward a year, we'd be able to make a decision, but we can't. So, like, it all depends on our injury luck. Daniel Marlon is one that has popped up quite a lot. Jack, in terms of like an Origi replacement, maybe Daniel Marlon from PSV.
I don't know much about him, but I think that from what I have seen, he's fast on FIFA. Passes that checkbox for me. No, I think he's young. I think he's got a lot of different attributes, and I think that what I want to replace Origi with is someone who's younger. I would like Daka a lot. I like Marlon a lot, but I want someone younger in Origi's spot. Origi's only 26.
I've watched Marlon a lot, but I think physically he's a bit. It's a bit too early to make that step up to Liverpool, and I think it would be a similar case of when Memphis Depay went to Manchester United and he struggled a lot. It would be the same for Marlon. He needs to go to a lower league, sort of top 5 team, and play regular football. Might be the case for Daka as well. Although I think physically he's a bit older than Marlon as well, and he's a much more advanced stage than Marlon. So I see Daka fitting in more. But again, it's a big step up from the Austrian League to the Premier League. So I'd probably, in terms of number 9 options, I'd probably look at someone from the top 5 league who can offer us something different like Origi. And for that reason...
Offer something different like Origi. That's very, very kind of you to say that Origi offers us something.
Well, different is a very kind adjective.
Prime Origi offered us qualities that, you know, our other players don't. And if we're talking about that, then I think Sasha Kalajdzic would be a good option from Stuttgart. He's 2 meters tall, 6'7". But he's like, don't be fooled by his height. He's very good technically. He used to play as a midfielder. He's good at pressing. He plays in a pressing system, and he's also got the aerial threat. And as a bonus, he's also a massive Liverpool fan. And there's loads of pictures of him at Anfield in Liverpool colours. So he also knows what it means to wear the shirt.
Would you say what would you say the budget would be in terms of like strikers and number nines and the availability of number nines, Dan? Because if you talk about them, there's an elite tier, and then you sort of got ones below that are sort of maybes.
Yeah, I'd put us definitely in the maybe category for where we're going to look, to be honest. I think the likes of Marlon and Daka would be very much up our street. You know, as much as they're probably not the perfect fit, I don't think we signed the perfect fit ever. You know, we went and signed Jota last season after a pretty average year with Wolves, really. And we've seen something in him. Like, we paid 40, but there's Premier League tax on that. When you buy from your Premier League rivals, there's 15 million added on. You know, we go and sign Marlon or Daka for 20. I think that's exactly the sort of business we do this summer. Not just because of the way Liverpool are. That is a big factor, but also there's other areas we need to strengthen. Obviously, we spoke about defence. We're probably going to have to replace Wijnaldum. We might need to sign a backup keeper yet if we don't trust Kelleher. So there's a lot of money floating around, and we're in the middle / coming to the end of a pandemic. So realistically, we might spend 100, 120 million this window, but we need to find 5 players there. So probably 25, 30 million tops on a striker.
Yeah, I think people are turning their heads at Andre Silva, but I think he would be a great option as well. And I think we might be able to get him for a relatively cheap figure, around that 35 million bargain. And I think what really sold me on Andre Silva is, he's a good presser. He offers something different. He scored the most headed goals in all of Europe's top 5 leagues. And on top of that, his record with Diego Jota for both the Portugal national team and Porto when they were together is incredible. They played 32 games, scored 30 goals, and made 16 assists together whilst they were up front. So that's 1.44 goal contributions per 90, which is, I think, an incredible record. So, and I'd love to see that come to Liverpool. You know, who knows what they could do with Salah and Mane around them as well.
Definitely. Go on, Dan.
If you go on Diogo Jota's Wikipedia, it says he's Andre Silva's brother.
No, different Andre Silva. But yeah,
is it a different one? Who's that? Who's Andre
His
Silva?
brother is also called Andre Silva, so they also have that connection.
That's weird.
That's proper weird. That is.
Yeah.
Oh, not so much. Oh, centre midfielders. There's comments. Liam's doing really well. Keep commenting, bro. Neuhaus 40 million release clause, and Yves Bissouma as well. I love Yves Bissouma because I love Brighton. Brighton are my second favourite team in this league, just because of the way they play football. And Graham Potter, he's goated. He's goated in my opinion. But in terms of those two, and replacing Wijnaldum, are those two the sort of players you would look out for? Either or.
Like for Wijnaldum, I think Neuhaus or even Bissouma are similar. But I potentially, I'd love us to go for someone like Zielinski or a bit more creative type of midfielder who can progress the ball well and carry the ball forward and offer more in attack, if we are going to replace Wijnaldum, and if we do need to replace him. I think not necessarily a number 10 per se, not a fixed number 10 figure, but someone who can contribute defensively, but is also just better going forward. Ideally, what Naby Keita was meant to become at Liverpool, but he never did. Someone like that, and
never has so far.
Never did. What is that definitive statement about how Keita can't do this? Oh, God.
He can, bro. Keep the faith.
He can do it, just not consistently. So someone like Rodrigo de Paul, for example, I think would be an interesting idea to consider.
I've said
very Liverpool as well.
I've said a lot about how much I like Rodrigo de Paul. I think he'd be very good. He's a different style player than Newhouse. I think Zakaria, I don't know if anybody mentioned him, also at Borussia Mönchengladbach, very cheap because of his release clause. I think him and de Paul would be great. It would be a lot of Bundesliga players to sign, but I think a summer of Kabak, Konate, Zakaria, de Paul, and then some number 9 would be phenomenal. Add Rafinha.
Andre Silva as well would be all Bundesliga signing.
With the exception of DePaul, yeah. I mean, that'd be a great summer, in my opinion. And as Liam says, he's not that expensive because of his release clause as well. And he'd be a decent age bracket. He'd come in as a different option in the midfield. I think I prefer Odegaard. I love the idea of signing Martin Odegaard. He's very similar to DePaul, but I think DePaul's a bit more developed. But I think Odegaard's potential is through the roof. He'd be a lot more expensive, and maybe like.
Why would you never let an Odegaard?
I love that. I love the Ennis Bardi shout as well because I watched him develop in Hungary, and I think he's actually a very decent ball, and I think he's going to be someone who you're going to need to watch out for in the Euros, and he's going to get a bigger move in the Euros. I think his last 3 games for North Macedonia, that includes the victory. They beat Germany recently. He got 3 assists and a goal in 3 games, and one of them was against Germany. So, very decent player. You got to watch out for him in the Euros for sure.
Exactly. This is an interesting one. This is a very interesting one. I would laugh, but I'm not going to because last year I was screaming for Ollie Watkins, and it's different players. But Tony, say we get Tony for 20 million. I know they probably want more than that. Would you take it?
No, not for me.
No? I think for me, he just reminds me of Ings. You know, when Ings came in, and he'd be one of those players who'll just never get a chance.
I think he's too much of a goal scorer, which sounds mad. But when you're Liverpool, like we've watched Firmino for 5 years now, who offers so much instead of just goals. We need someone who's going to offer a hell of a lot. Like Ivan Toney, prolific, fair play to him, but he's not the all-round package that we're going to go for. It's just not realistic. Just to touch on midfielders, I think we'll go with Bissouma. I personally would because he's got Premier League experience, and I think signing all these players in the Bundesliga is wonderful, but we've seen what happened with Havertz and Werner at Chelsea. It hasn't really worked. We can't afford to sign 5 of them and it not really work. So I would go with Bissouma. Yeah, but
Tony, that's a good point.
Not for me.
I think it's a good point. We do need to sign someone from the Premier League because, like with Diego Jota, when we got him from the Premier League and he made a huge step up, and then Sadio Mane as well. I think it's important to have a signing from the Premier League every summer for someone, because the Premier League is a different ball game. Let's be honest, to most European leagues, and if we are bringing someone in as a first team player, as a starting 11, then I think it would be nice, especially if we're replacing Ronaldo. I think Bissouma, just because of his Premier League experience.
I don't know about me. For me, it's the same sport, right? I don't think the Premier League is as big a jump as it is for some. I mean, some players will take a while to adjust. Yes, I'm not saying that's the same for every player.
The most important thing I will say is I think you're right, Jack. It's the system. The reason why Havertz and Werner haven't worked is because Chelsea's system doesn't allow them to work. Like you saw with Torres, I think Werner's a very similar forward to Torres, and they both struggled at Chelsea. And with Havertz, like I was kind of, when Chelsea signed him, I was like kind of frowning at it because Havertz is not really a Chelsea player. You don't really see him fitting into Chelsea whatsoever. So,
I'm not having Nando being tarnished with the Timo Werner brush, mate.
At Chelsea, they're quite similar.
If you look at their goal scoring record at Chelsea, Werner's actually is better than
probably
Torres
is. Yeah, probably is. We could be trying to find the Naby Keita replacement as well this summer. Let's not rule that out. Like that could easily happen. If we got a good bid for him, 30-40 million, I'd be cashing in myself.
Oh God, no!
As much as I love Keita, I'd have to agree. If we get 40 million, then yeah, absolutely.
Could you guys have heard me like just before I started talking now? Yes or no?
I can hear you, bro. I can hear you.
I mean, before. Before that. Okay, my mic was muted, I think. I was kind of talking, and I was like, everyone's just talking over me, ignoring me, but it's because my mic was muted because I'm an idiot. Well, yeah. What I want to say is, I don't like Tony. I don't know much about Ivan Toney, but I don't like Brentford because they are a very analytical-based team. So they always sell their players for more than they're worth because they always are like, okay, we know this player. If we get this bid for him, he's not worth that much. And it's like, and they scare me. Right? They've done some good signings, but I believe Watkins came from Brentford.
Yeah.
He's been great. And Ben Rama, I think Ben
I mean,
Rama.
I spoke to the Brentford manager Thomas Frank about both of them, and I tried to get him to tell me a secret, but he wouldn't tell me. He said it was
I read the XG philosophy, which is about XG, and they talk about Brentford, who literally own a data company, and all their signings, all their sales are made based on XG. Okay, this player's doing very well because of his XG. I forget if they avoid him or sign him because of that. They follow it to a T, the XG, and it does well for them. So all fair play to them. Are they in position to get promoted to the Premier League?
Yeah, they've been second or third. Yeah.
Although I would love to see them.
They're kind of struggling at the moment.
Their form's quite poor, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
I just want to say, we sold Dominic Solanke for 20 million to Bournemouth, and Jack's moaning about selling players for higher than they're worth.
No. It's business. It's business. I'm not moaning about it. I'm just afraid to go to Brentford because they may rip us off. That's why I'm afraid.
Nobody rips Michael Edwards off.
Brentford are what I can't wait because it will happen. I can't wait for them to get to the Premier League. Personally, I genuinely I love the way they've gone about getting to this level. It's like it sort of feels like the right way, even though it's not. They have spent money, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
I think it'll be great. But
in terms of
at the same time, I would also love someone like Barnsley make it.
I mean, that'd be a ridiculous.
Really good form.
They've been there before.
Yeah,
they've been to the Premier League before. Yeah, they've been a few years ago. But
Brentford,
they have spent money.
About number 9s, we have to mention Daryl Dyke.
Yeah, Daryl Dyke, of course.
DK, isn't it DK?
DK, I think.
Yeah. American.
Yeah, boy.
I love Daryl.
His overhead kick from one of his goals at Barnsley was remarkable. He's on some mad form as well, similar to Tony.
Form. He's class, man. He's different gravy. America, golden generation. Oh, I'm so excited.
What would you do now? What would you like? Would you be like gassed if a Liverpool signed like a top American player?
Oh, when Pulisic was leaving Dortmund or rumored, I was begging for him to go to Liverpool, because I borderline support Chelsea just to see Pulisic succeed, but I obviously don't support them. But if he does something great, I'm like, oh yay, Pulisic. But if any other Chelsea player does something, I'm like, oh, I hate that. So I would love to see him.
We've had a couple of Americans over the years. Brad Friedel, Zach Whitbread years ago. We've had a couple, It
was a very American name.
Very nearly Clint Dempsey.
Yeah, Clint Dempsey. We did. Yeah.
That would be fascinating.
Let's talk about the man who very nearly swapped for Clint Dempsey, Jordan Henderson. He's just paints himself in glory, man. I love him. I absolutely adore him. Some of the stuff that he says is so Liverpool. He gets it. When he came out with that statement, the first thing he came out with before the Super League was fully done, I almost shed a tear, boys, if I'm being honest. I was like, oh, Jordan, you just know what it means. What were your boys' reactions to that and how he's gone about just being Liverpool captain, replacing Steven Gerrard, the poison chalice that he's made his own?
Yeah. I mean, what can you say about him? I mean, it was almost a poison chalice having to replace a club legend like that. He was always going to be compared. There were so many the way they play is not, I think, similar, but they're both midfielders. They're both English. They don't look similar, but they're both white dudes. So it's there's always going to be the natural comparisons. And he's not as good as Gerrard. But what he does is he oozes class. He's a leader for this team. And you see what we're like without him. He's not the most technically great player. He's not bad. He's not going to stun you with these moves, except for sometimes he has the odd worldie every now and then. But what he does, he has a leadership and he knows the game. And so proud. It doesn't, and who was the captain for England?
Kane.
I think what I like about him recently, because Henderson didn't play a few international games, I think England fans are starting to realise how important Henderson is to their team as well, which I kind of like, because he's finally getting the respect he deserves.
Exactly.
He never really got it before, and now it's like he's respected, and he should be. Like, he's a Premier League and Champions League champion. Like, how many players are there who've captained their team to two like ultimate prizes in world football?
Yeah, I just want to say, Jack mentioned pride there. I was very proud of Liverpool players the other night, especially when they came out with that statement. But Henderson in particular, I think somebody called him the captain of captains in the Premier League, because he's the one who's like got them all together a couple of times now. It didn't actually happen because the Super League got cancelled, like you said, but he's a proper leader of men, Jordan Henderson. And I've actually said this week, and I wrote a couple of things about Henderson potentially being a better captain than Gerrard. Like, he's not a better footballer than Steven Gerrard, but in terms of his actual captaincy and his leadership, I'd probably put him, if not level, perhaps past Gerrard.
Honestly. And it's not just the way he carries himself on the pitch. It's about the way he is off it. He just seems like, A, the bloke you want to go for a pint with, B, like the best like father to a kid you could ever imagine. He just seems like a top level like bloke. And that's
going to be very hard to replace.
Exactly.
Very hard.
Who would have thought we'd have said that 4 years ago, or 3 or 4 years ago? Like,
I know.
Like, he was, and I'm going to confess to it. I was a sideways pass Henderson merchant. You know, everyone was.
I think everyone was.
I'm not going to lie. I was not. As soon as he signed it, I was like, there's something special in this player. His goal against Bolton, I was like, you know what? I can see potential in him, and I loved his energy. I always loved his energy on the field. And I think there was his performance against Chelsea towards the end of his first season when we won 4-0 and he scored a goal. I was completely convinced after that. I always rated him after that. I don't think, he's always had a bit of like shy spells in the team, well, especially when he was adjusting, where he maybe wasn't making as many forward passes. But the season after Suarez left as well, I think he was our best player during that season. I know Sterling got the Player of the Season award, but I think it should have been Anderson.
Yeah, I mean, again, we can't praise Jordan Henderson enough, to be honest. And yeah. And as we said, he's Ali. Sorry, Ali. I was going to try and say Uzaya or whatever. He's told us to call him Ali now. Yeah, he's just been a remarkable bloke.
I want to hit on what Ben said as well. I mean, he doesn't look great when he plays. He doesn't stun you with the like Wijnaldum looks better when he plays, and Wijnaldum's a pretty boring.
I beg to differ.
Wijnaldum has more in his locker. He can do the Cruyff turns, the roulettes. He can do all that. He has the tricks in his bag.
Do a Cruyff turn when he's through on goal.
But there's no question that Henderson's a more important player and probably a better footballer too, because he helps you win matches, and it's a quality that you can't see on the field. It's like trying to judge defenders by stats, trying to judge defenders in general. There are things that you just cannot see. He just knows where to put his feet, where to put his body on the field, and he knows what to yell at the players around him. That's a very underrated skill. And being a top class person isn't a requirement for being a good footballer, but he brings it just because that's the kind of person he is. And it makes me immensely proud to name him, call him our captain. Because I don't mean to slander other clubs, but I see a certain fridge at a certain rival, and I'm just like, I'm just happy that we're levels above you.
Amazing. So tomorrow, Newcastle United, early kickoff. I'm actually going to miss the game, which is an absolute gutter because I'm going home. But what are we thinking about it? Obviously, we've got Steve Bruce. Obviously, he has a few people on his back this season, but he has kept them safe now. Dan, first thoughts on the game? Who's going to be the key back?
Yeah, so I think the fact they are safe is probably a bit of a bonus to us. I think a couple of weeks ago, this could have been it still will be tricky, but trickier when they had a hell of a lot to play for. I think results have gone their way and they've obviously picked up points. So they might come and play a little bit more football, which is great news for us. Key battle-wise, I'd say our centre-halves against the likes of Sam Maximin. I think he could give Trent a difficult time defensively. At the same time, I don't think he'll track Trent. So I think Trent could also have a field day going forward, which is great news. But yeah, I think generally on the game, I think we have too much for them. But I thought that about 15 times at home this year to dodgy teams, and it hasn't worked out. So, but at the same time, like I say, they're pretty much safe, and we've got everything to play for. So we should have far too much for them.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, but this is Steve Bruce. And, I was really optimistic about when we played them away, and Jesus Christ, that was a dire game.
That was peak awful Liverpool.
It was, yeah, it was.
And on top of that, they just beat West Ham last weekend. So they'll be buzzing after that.
Over West Ham this season, which is mental if you think about it. They beat them on the opening day as well.
Yeah.
So this is like, I think we can't underestimate them. I still think if we're playing at our best, which we haven't done a lot this season, but if we are, we should still beat them.
Yeah,
I can see it being a tricky tie, a 2-1. But if we come out and play, we can do it. And thankfully, I think if I'm up to date with the news, Diogo Jota is going to be fit, which is
he's fine. He's fine.
Yeah, which is very important. I'm not sure about Nat Phillips. Is there any updates on Nat Phillips?
He's out. But that could be a good thing. That could be a good thing. I hate to put in because Callum Wilson at St James's Park had Nat Phillips on toast. Nat Phillips wasn't quick enough for him. And I actually think Ben Davis, as much as we joke, could play tomorrow.
I mean, I'd love to see it. But I can't.
He hasn't seen sunlight in 4 months. Come on.
He's in Jurgen's basement somewhere on match days.
I think you mentioned that Newcastle beat West Ham first match of the season. I may just be, might be the worst take ever. I think Newcastle have more talent than West Ham do. I think they're a better side. I just think they have a terrible manager. Now, I know this is getting a lot of hate, so I'll swiftly move on and talk about the Liverpool versus Newcastle match.
John Joe Shelby said that last week.
I think they're very, very good, honestly. I think Steve Bruce is just not a good manager.
I love to admire about them, like Callum Wilson's quality.
You cannot look me in the eye and tell me Jeff Hendrick is talented.
Saint Maximin is probably the most underrated player in the Premier League.
I would agree.
I'd say.
Their entire talent pool, I think, lies in the palm of Saint Maximin.
Good player.
James Lascelles is a good defender as well when he's fit.
Dubravka's a very good keeper. I think that we need to win. I mean, I'm sorry, we're Liverpool Football Club. I'm tired of having to be like, yeah, we should win, but it's Newcastle. They play in England. I'm a bit scared. That's just how it's been for the last few months, and it's upsetting.
Especially after the Leeds draw.
Yeah.
Like that 86th minute equaliser, when we didn't play our best, but we still could have won. There was chances there. I mean, Leeds had much higher XG than us.
Those 2 missed points just hurt me. I mean, we would be in 5th place, tied on points with Chelsea in 4th. Only we would be 4 behind Leicester.
But this weekend, Chelsea and West Ham are both playing each other as well.
Yeah, tomorrow night.
I'm sorry, this is a must-win. I think if we want any chance of making top 4, it's a must-win. And I mean, even avoiding Conference League and getting into Europa League, it's also a must-win. Because I think Spurs getting that scrappy win. Who they play with Ryan Mason? That was Southampton. I mean, I think they'll have a bit of a kick on because they have not Jose Mourinho. They have a guy who doesn't hate them as their manager. I think he's not as good a manager as Mourinho, but they may just. I don't know. They're good players. They may play well. I don't know. I think we need to win. We need to have a bounce back from the Super League, just sadness. And we're going to be in the Champions League next year if we can win a few matches. It's just a must win.
I'm going to stick to my opinion from the other day. I'm not bothered. Like the Super League stuff took it out of me that much that top 4 seemed like so irrelevant. And we can't forget that feeling. Like, whatever European competition Liverpool play in next season, at least Liverpool will be playing in it. Like, and it won't be some shitty Super League.
Yeah. I mean, I felt that before the Super League, to be honest. Like, for me, it doesn't, as much
Ben
as
just hates Liverpool.
As much as I love the Champions League, and I know as much as people have hated me for saying it, but for me, I think the most important thing for Liverpool Football Club is to be in Europe, like period. So I don't care what competition. I don't care if we're going to be in the UEFA Conference League. As long as Liverpool are in Europe, I'm happy and I'm satisfied. But
I think
obviously,
even that isn't a guarantee because Everton are. I mean, they're not calling them hot on our tails. It's a bit loose.
Everton are at Arsenal tomorrow, aren't they?
Tonight,
yeah,
8 o'clock tonight. Yeah.
20 minutes from now, yeah. I think if they win their game in hand, they're just right behind us. And if Everton finish ahead of us, season's over.
Null and void.
Just end the thought of this season forever.
Yeah. I will disagree on the Europa League point, though, I must admit, because it's a hell of a difference playing sort of Tuesday, Wednesday to it is Thursday, Sunday every week. And some of the places you go in that Europa League can be pretty brutal. Like you can end up in Russia on a Thursday night, and then you've got to play West Ham away on Sunday afternoon. I see where you're coming from. Obviously, the money's different as well. It's difficult that.
You're poking a sleeping
as well,
bear.
Like, I'd say without Europe, there is no money coming in, and in a pandemic where we have made so many losses, and hopefully fans will be back. I think we would want to make as much money as possible from a business perspective, and I think that's what the European competition offers us.
Don't forget some of the best memories in our club's recent history have been in the Europa League.
I love the Europa League. I just think there is a disparity between the two in terms of what's good and what isn't.
I see your point about that. It is a tough one, but I think just because of financial security.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
What's fascinating actually is I see this comment from Jesse about Champions League affecting our transfers. I think we may have a much better transfer window now than we would have if Super League never really was floated and never really had the major blowback, because we talked about it before we went live about the shiny toy aspect, where it's like, all the fans hate us. Let's go sign Kanate. Let's bring in Kabak. Let's bring in a few other players. So I think we're going to actually have a good window regardless. And it's not like Man
that's
United.
What all the journalists are saying as well. And normally they're always trying to prepare us for like a bleak transfer window. But from all the credible sources, they're saying, regardless of where we finish, we mean business.
Because how could we only afford Ben Davis and Kabak in January, and there's now a 32 million centre back?
It's the UEFA. It's the dirty UEFA money. I'm telling you, it's the one Alexander Chefrain gave us for not being in the
if John Henry needs to find some money, he'll find some money. He'll figure out a way to get some money in this club.
I think a big factor of that is the fact that we're looking at a more brighter outlook now in terms of fans coming back next season. I think that'll make the owners a little bit happier. I also think a lot of our transfer funds are going to come from sales, which we've not really done before. We've sold the odd player here and there, but I do kind of expect a bit of a clear out this summer. I think Shaqiri, Matip, we've spoken about, maybe Keita, Oxlade-Chamberlain, these sort of players, Origi. I do think it could be time for Ox as well. I think maybe not all of them, but a hell of a lot. Like Gruitch, he could probably leave. We're probably going to raise. Yeah, we're going to raise a decent amount of money. I'd say that way.
Steven Gerrard.
Exactly. I think we are going to. It's going to be a case of I think there needs to be not a major turnover, major rebuild. I think there needs to be several new players, though, just to give some fresh blood, some fresh excitement in the side. Because I think Mane could do with a kick in the pants beyond just Jota. Firmino could use with a kick in the pants, and maybe even the midfield. And if not a kick in the pants, at least rest them so they can play at their absolute best. And we don't press as much as we used to because we've been grinding these players until their joints are just going to be just bones grinding against each other. So I think this is a really important summer for us. I think it's one of the most important ones we've had in recent. I think since when we signed Alisson and Fabinho, in my eyes, it's going to be a major turning point.
Definitely.
I think we need a bit of a fresh rejuvenation, not like an entire rebuild for the starting 11, but for the squad, we definitely need a few fresh new faces.
Definitely. So I think we'll cut it off there for a short stream on a Friday night of all the chat show. We'll be back next Friday, but we'll leave it on a score prediction for tomorrow. I don't know if any of these boys will be on the pre-match tomorrow.
6:30 a.m. How are we feeling for that for me?
I won't be there. I will not be there.
Yeah, I don't think I can make it either.
I think I may be there by default then.
So, Ben, score prediction for tomorrow.
Oh, God. I have a realistic one. I'm going to go with the optimistic one, and I'm going to go 2-1. I can see Newcastle nicking a goal, but us still coming out on top.
And the scorers, go on.
Salah, penalty, just to rile up both penalties. Come on, just to rile up all the rival fans. And I hope both of them are kind of low-key dives, so people can get even more annoyed about VAR.
You want to see you woke up and chose violence.
One of my friends is a Newcastle fan, and he says Salah is a diver, so that's the only reason why I'm saying it.
Oh, mate, get it. Dan,
I want
what are we
him
going
to be proved right.
Yeah,
the wrong way.
If that was the optimistic one, 2-1 with 2 penalties, then God help us. But yeah, I'm going to go optimistic as well. I think I'm going to say a bit of an old school Liverpool performance, and we score early and we absolutely batter them from there on in. And I'm going to say 4-0 with Salah scoring twice, Jota and Mane's going to get another.
Love it. Jackie boy.
All right, solo me. We need to make this is going to be prophetic. All right, so it's 2:39 Friday, April 23rd here in good old United States of America. Liverpool will score first, score second. It'll be 2-2 first half. We go into halftime. We're a bit upset. Mane will score the third. We'll score fourth and win 4-2. Davies is going to start. Curtis Jones is going to start. Jota is going to start with Mane and Salah.
Okay. Well, if you get all of those things right, fair enough to you, mate. I'm gonna go 3. Shall I channel 7-0, mate? It's gonna be 7-0. Curtis Jones is gonna score all of them. No, I'm gonna go for 3-1. And I'm gonna go for Sam Maximan scored the opening goal. Newcastle will go 1-0 up, and then Mo Salah, Trent, and Thiago is going to bag one. Thiago's going to bag one. There we go. So there we go. Thank you very much for watching the Cat Show. Ibrahima Konate already signed, well, apparently according to Fabrizio Romano, and with Newcastle tomorrow. Thank you very much for watching, and we will catch you next time on the LFC Transfer Room.